Welcome back to the channel, everyone. It is Sunday, March 10th. Wanted to do a video here and look at the chances for some severe weather this upcoming week. Looks like mainly across the southern plains and specifically Texas. Probably going to have about 3 days, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Mainly Wednesday, Thursday probably being the biggest, or at least the day with the most storms, and then possibly maybe southeast Texas, East Texas on Friday and going off into the Gulf Coast states. But wanted to get on, do a look at the kind of models here, showing especially for Wednesday what we're looking at. Still a little bit far out to know specifics for any of these days, especially Thursday and Friday, but wanted to kind of take a look at the overall pattern and talk about what types of threats we may be looking at. So this right here, this kind of illustration here, this is looking at what the North American model is showing for moisture here over the next about 4 days, 5 days or so. And so what we can see here is if we stop kind of right here at the start, basically this would be this afternoon, so Sunday afternoon, March 10th, we can see that all of these colors here, kind of this, white, gray, even these darker colors, these are very, very dry dew points. We really don't have dew points much over about 30 degrees over much of the continental US. A little bit of moisture here in California and right along the Gulf Coast and Florida, certainly some moisture, but most of that best quality moisture, 60s and 70s, is well off into the southern Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean. And really, that's just with this front that we've seen over the last couple days here in North Texas. It's cool, temperatures off, but it also really cleaned out that moisture. And so right now we're looking at very dry conditions. But what we can see is as we move forward here over the next couple days, as we start to get into right about here, this would be late Monday, early Tuesday, we can start to see this moisture coming in from kind of this western Gulf of Mexico into Texas and up into the southern plains. And so if we kind of continue on this illustration, you can see that moisture being pulled northward here across the southern plains and even into the Midwest. And that's going to be due to a trough that we're going to have kind of moving in and then forming a closed low here over Arizona. We'll look at that here in a second. But again, our moisture really starts to pick up as we move into our Wednesday. And by Wednesday evening here, this would be about 7 p.m. Wednesday, we can see really, really good moisture, really setting up from North Texas, Dallas, a 64, 65 degree dew point, 60-degree dew points all the way up into southeastern Oklahoma. And so we've got more than enough moisture here. And where you see these kind of whitish brown colors right up against these bluer colors, this is what we call kind of our dry line right here. And so we've got really dry temperatures, again, a 33-degree dew point over here. You move over DFW, we have a 60-degree dew point, 64, 65 degrees. So this real sharp kind of contrasting area, that's what we call our dry line. And so that typically allows for there to be a little bit of a forcing mechanism to get those storms. And oftentimes, any storms that can kind of form along the dry line here and move east into this better moisture, that's where we can get some pretty significant severe weather and those more challenging, much more severe storms, larger hail, a tornado threat as well. So this will be something to watch exactly how far this moisture gets north on our Wednesday, as well as kind of where that dry line sets up. Now, if we go and we look at that upper level pattern here for much of the week, again, what we can see here is that that first kind of pattern has moved off the East Coast here. And then as we move forward in time and we get into our Wednesday, you can see this new trough coming in here across the Northwest into the Four Corners region. And as we move forward in time, it starts to kind of dig down and almost kind of stall out and form a closed low right here. We've got a lot of flow here on the backside. And again, this would be kind of where the jet stream is up at 500 millibars. And so because of this flow here, we can see that as this low pressure system sits here over Utah, Colorado, and this flow comes around the base of this low and forms this trough, we get these enhanced flows here across the Panhandle, Oklahoma, maybe stretching down into North Texas. And that's going to be our mechanism for igniting some severe weather both on Wednesday and Thursday as well. So we've got this upper air forcing this trough digging down. That's the first thing that we always look at. Then we like to look at our 850 millibar winds. This is what we would call our low level jet. And we can see that there is a little bit of a low pressure center at the surface here across kind of Minnesota, Iowa, Nebraska area. And what that does is it creates this enhanced flow kind of coming up from the southwest here around that low. And so where that's going to position is we're going to have those faster wind speeds a little bit above the surface here across southeast Oklahoma and this area of North Texas to the Arklatex area right here. So that, based on those low level winds, that's definitely kind of that triggering spot where we could see that severe weather. And then we compare, let's go ahead. I'm going to circle this right here, and then let's compare that with where our surface moisture is. So we look at our dew points. Again, we've got 63, 64, 65-degree dew points across this area, right from the dry line eastward here across North Texas, southeast Oklahoma, and southwestern Arkansas. So again, that moisture lines up with those low-level winds. Then if we look at some of our instability parameters, let's look at our 0 to 3 kilometer EHI. So this is kind of a composite parameter here that looks at where is that shear, that turning winds with height, and that instability, kind of that storm juice, where is that most maximized? And again, it's really mostly over the same exact area. And so that's why it does look like Wednesday could be a pretty potent severe weather day across North Texas, kind of that southeastern portion of Oklahoma, and probably extending over into Arkansas as well. Now, there are going to be some issues potentially with, is that trough arriving too late? Does that moisture really get as far north as this model is showing? As well as if there's any type of a cap issue. So let's take an example sounding here. Let's try that again. Oh, pop-up's blocking it. So let's try a sounding here and see what this upper air sounding is showing us. And again, this would be Wednesday evening about sunset. And we can see, all right, this is kind of interesting. Looking at, I wonder if it's where I took the sounding. This red area where we see this line really bulge out, this is what we call a cap in the atmosphere. You've probably heard of that before. So this would mean that storms would not form in this type of an environment. Now, it might be because my pop-up got blocked. Let me try a different sounding. When I was looking earlier, that certainly wasn't the case. Let's see what this is showing here. Yeah, interesting. We still not as much of a cap, but still showing a cap here. That's where this red line really juts out to the right, and it's further right than this blue dash line. That's going to mean that really air above the surface is warmer, and as we know, air rises, and so if the air up above is warm, that air is going to be like, oh, well, that air is not warmer, so it's not going to rise, and so you don't get those thunderstorms to form. So that's a little bit interesting. That has changed since the last models that I looked at earlier. Now we can see our hodograph here, this big curved hodograph right here. This is very favorable for tornadoes. So if we were to see maybe a little bit better moisture, maybe we don't see as much of a cap here, this would be a very significant environment for severe weather. But again, right now that is showing a pretty decent cap. Let's take another sounding maybe further in southeast Oklahoma. Let's see what this, if it shows that same cap in place. So that definitely could be, yeah, still showing a little bit of a cap, a little bit higher up in the atmosphere, but still to the right of that dash blue line. Again, hodograph, definitely wind shear. We've got winds out of the south, then southwest, then more west up above. Plenty of instability here, plenty of effective storm relative helicity and certainly shear here. 63, 3 Cape. So overall, the environment looks good other than this capping concern. So this may be something that we're dealing with, and we may not honestly know the answer up until the actual event. So we'll have to keep watching that. But again, this looks to be the bullseye from kind of North Texas, Western Arkansas, Southeast Oklahoma here. And we'll have to be watching exactly how good the moisture is, probably by Wednesday afternoon, to see, are we going to get storms? Or will that cap be kind of that lid on the atmosphere, keep storms from forming? But again, this is a look at Wednesday. It looks like Wednesday will be the first day. Thursday will be possibly more significant or at least more widespread with the severe weather. Same general area, North Texas, Oklahoma, probably Arkansas, maybe Louisiana as well. Those are going to be our areas for both of those days. And then moving forward into Friday, more likely kind of a Gulf Coast states, a Dixie Alley type of an event, maybe Southeast Texas, but that'll tend to move a little bit further east for our Friday, maybe into the weekend as well. But wanted to give you a little bit of a preview, especially looking at Wednesday. Looks like it could be a significant severe weather day, but again, based on these afternoon models, maybe there'll be enough of a cap on the atmosphere that storms won't be able to form. So hope everybody has a kind of making the best of adjusting to the time change. I know that's always a little bit tough, but this does mean there's going to be a lot more sunlight this week to have longer to chase these storms if I have the opportunity. So hope everybody has a good rest of your Sunday, and I'll see you back for the next video.